Someone that didn't talk yet.
I want to get back to Trudeau again. I have a suggestion. I don't know whether it would work or not, but what if your group or some other peace group in Israel invited Trudeau to come and tour the West Bank? Here, here. But the other thing is, can you explain what the cultural boycott is all about? I know there is,
Okay.
some people have different ideas about it.
Okay. You wanted to add to the idea of
I just
Trudeau?
want to add to Frida's idea, and that is, in order to save on Trudeau's security and make sure that he doesn't avoid the facts, it's better to bring people like Yonatan and Rabbis for Human Rights and a few other groups, like Breaking the Silence, for example, to Trudeau's office for a meeting.
That's a good thing too. Yeah.
Is it in the same subject? Or? So just add to that and then I will answer.
It's not adding. It's just like why don't you give us some statistics and numbers about businesses, deal workers and our movements that even Canada and other countries are doing business and lots of money on these deals?
Okay, I'll start with that and then I'll talk about the idea. I don't have with me lots of numbers and statistics. I can just tell you that, of course, Israel and the United States have strong armed relations. Israel gets $3 billion, more than $3 billion a year as aid. About $2 billion of that is military aid, which is like coupons to get a free weapon from the American weapon industry. The arm industry is working very, very closely with companies, Israeli companies and American companies are having offices in both places together. In the Canadian case, I just read shortly before I came here and I saw that there is ongoing arm trade going, and just yesterday I met this professor, Canadian professor here, that has all the numbers and the statistics and stuff, and I really hope that I can know a little bit more in detail, and then next time I can answer you more thoroughly about that. But in general, I think this is the way to go, what you were mentioning, to find out, and a group here together with groups like us working together, finding a specific company, a specific deal, and going after them. That's a practical way to go in this struggle. I strongly believe that, and I'm sorry that I don't have numbers and exact statistic to give you. Regarding the idea, I think it's a great idea, both things. And if you start organizing something like that, and again, we have to choose carefully the person that will do that. Maybe someone from the boycott movement is too much, and they will not be even willing to see us because it will be too difficult, dangerous politically for them. But we can find the right person, the right organization that can actually meet with the new government, and I'm willing to help, and I think it's a great idea. Regarding the cultural boycott, not like in the South Africa case, the boycott against, for example, Israeli artists is only if you are representing an official Israeli institution supported by the foreign ministry. Like if I'm a singer and I come to perform, and the fact that I am Israeli doesn't mean that the BDS movement is going after me. If I'm an actor or an author, it's not where the BDS movement is going. The idea is those who are connected to the establishment and represent the establishment. For example, there is ballet company that is coming to perform, and you check on their website and you see that a big part of the budget they get is from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and they are actually part of a Brand Israel campaign that they started some years ago in the foreign ministry in order to better the face of the Israeli apartheid around the world. So they come up with different initiatives of nice art to bring around the world and to make it looks not so bad, not just to have the bad news about occupation and oppression on the news here, as well as the academic boycott. If you are an Israeli scholar, student, a professor, you're not to be targeted under this boycott, and the guidelines of the BDS movement are very, very clear. Not like in the South African day, every South African scholar, professor, artist would be boycotted. In the case of the Palestinian call, it's much more targeted. So if you are a professor from the Beersheba Ben Gurion University and you represent the institution and you come to give a talk or you come to do some joint research, something like that, then you are a target for the boycott. And I'll tell you why. In the case, for example, of this university, huge part of the university is dedicated to training officers and Israeli soldiers. In fact, the new pilot Air Force course is happening also on the campus of the Ben Gurion University. About 1 year out of the, I think, 3 years flying course is studying in the University of Beersheba, and the same in different other cases. The Tel Aviv University is training and doing a master program for secret services groups, police. They are all very, very much weaved into the military establishment. Thank you very much for this comment. The Canada Park is now called Park Ayalon because of some voices from Canada that felt really uncomfortable. I think it's still mentioned there, but not as the title of the park. It's sitting on the demolished 3 villages of I forgot the names of them, but I recently went there. I actually have an interesting story about that. When I was 40, 3 years ago, 3.5, I wanted to do some birthday party for the family, and I thought what kind of present I want from people, and I didn't want to get any new shirt or CD or book, and I thought the best thing I would like my friends and family to give me is a little bit of attention and maybe a couple of hours to listen to something that is very dear to me. And my friend Omar Arabaria, who lives right next to that park in Wahat Salam, Neve Shalom, who's working in an organization called Zochrot, that dedicate to telling Israelis about the Nakba, about the Palestinian disaster of 1948. He came and he gave my family a tour in the park, showing under the trees the remains of the demolished village. And some of the people in my family are very Zionists, some even in the military. And I told them, listen, you don't have to agree, but if you want to give me a present, that's how you can make me happy. Just listen to Omar for 2 hours, and we went between all those sites there, and it's really crazy to see how the JNF, which we can talk about also, the Jewish National Fund, built these villages, these forests, and there are many forests like that around the country, on top of these demolished villages. These 3 demolished villages were actually demolished in 1967, not in 48, like most of the villages, but these one were in 67. Something really interesting that is also connected to South Africa happened a few months ago. just like this deal of that park, there is a place called Ya'ar Lavi Forest, not far from Tiberias, next to the Sea of Galilee and Nazareth. They had the same deal. There was a village that was called Lubia, Palestinian village that was demolished and the people expelled, living in the diaspora and some inside. South African Jewish community donated lots of money to the JNF to plant this forest, to make it like a park with recreation areas. When they recently found out what was really going on, they decided that they want to change the situation. They contacted Palestinian refugees from Lubia, and there is also a film about that. It's quite an amazing film done by this, I think, South African Jewish woman. And a couple of months ago, they came in a big delegation and returned the things that they got from the JNF because they didn't want to be any more part of it, and donated to the struggle of the families from the village of Lubia. It was a very emotional ceremony in the remains of the village inside the forest, together with the refugees and the Jewish community from South Africa. And of course, it's not bringing back the village. Maybe in the future it will, hopefully. But it's, I think, where we are, where we should go forward, to have more and more communities around the world and Jewish communities rejecting these horrible policies of the State of Israel and the JNF. And that thing gives me hope. Yes.
Let me just, if I may just add from this corner, just a couple of comments. For people who want to know more about Canada Park and the Jewish National Fund, the CBC program, The Fifth Estate, quite a number of years ago, did a very good documentary. And if you go onto YouTube, it's available there. And it's from a source that's quite credible, so it's something that can be shared very easily with friends and relatives to talk about that issue. The other thing is, many of you, I think, I recognize and would have signed a postcard that Independent Jewish Voices is circulating to the Minister of National Revenue to begin the process to revoke the charitable status of the Jewish National Fund in Canada. In the next little while, I expect you're going to see those postcards again. We're going to take a sticker and we're going to put them over the old minister's name and we're going to put in the new minister's name. So if you see those postcards, you say, oh, I've already done that. No, you haven't. It's a new minister. So sign a new postcard and we'll send them in.
Just on that, if I may, one other thing is that something that we can do as Canadians is we have a new government now. There happens to be, I think, 3 Muslims in the cabinet. There happens to be a number of Sikhs in the cabinet, minorities. There happens to be, I think, 8 Muslims in total in the House of Commons. If they were to start receiving letters from Christians, from Jews, from agnostics and heretics, that in support and calling for a civil relationship with the people of Palestine and justice and equality for those folks, I think you might start a movement within, especially within the Liberal Party.
I think we talked a little bit beforehand. I've done 3 kind of tours of duty with ISM in the West Bank and met and confronted many soldiers. And I don't think on any trip was there a time when at least one soldier expressed how much he hated doing what he was doing. Like, why are there only 1 or 2 people in jail? You would think there should be 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. Like, what is it about the narrative in Israel that prevents that?
Well, the number is going up and down. Sometimes there were many, sometimes there were little. But in general, the level of propaganda and brainwash in the Israeli education system is horrible. People are being taught lies about the reality. There is no real representation of Palestinians as humans in the curriculum. and it's a disgusting process of dehumanization of Arabs, of Palestinians. They don't even mention the word Palestine or Palestinian, and they call them Arab Israelis. And that's how you create a generation of ignorant people that are good herd to follow the corrupt leaders. But in a way, the process of soldiers being, corrupting their own humanity is an old as empire. It happens for Canadian soldiers when they're being sent to follow whatever your neighbor from the south want them to go. It happens to American soldiers. It happened to Syrian soldiers. It happened to everyone, and it happens big time in Israel. And that's why I said again and again that even though you see some groups and some phenomena of conscientious objection, don't put your hope on that thing. We will try as much as we can to have more and more people, but it will have to come with a strong pressure from outside. Well, I think what happened in the UN, for example, like the latest vote, so everyone almost was voting for Palestine except the United States. The problem is, England votes for, but in practice they support Israel. They keep armed trade, they keep financial trade, they keep diplomatic support. I'll give you an example. Belgium, where the European Parliament sits, just recently, a few days ago, they finally voted to label settlement products. It was a big campaign, long efforts of years. I had a few months ago, I had a meeting with the advisor, the general advisor of the Middle East to the foreign minister of Belgium, and he kind of took pride. It was me and another Palestinian activist and another Palestinian woman from Who Profits, this organization I told you earlier. And in the meeting, he kind of wanted to show us how much Belgium is really trying to help with the Palestinian struggle, and took pride of how they promote this labeling of settlement products. So we said, okay, thank you, good. But what about arm trade? Does Belgium trade arms with Israel? And he said, I cannot answer. And I checked it later, and I know that there is huge arm trade between Israel and Belgium. And for him as a diplomat, it was probably the most diplomatic way he could say yes. Because if there was no, he would say immediately no. But there is NFL, I think, or FN, which is a big weapon producer in Belgium that sells Israel weapon, and Israel produce some of the weapon. It's a big business. Israel have representatives from the drone companies in Belgium, and so what does it help if they vote for settlement product labeling if they provide the bullets that shoots Palestinian kids? So there is a lot of hypocrisy, and there is also countries are not one person. It's many people, just like these people in this room. So you have some forces that are helping us, and some that usually are bigger and stronger that are helping the other side. So again and again, I'm saying that we need massive grassroots work in order to change that. We need to block those weapon companies. Recently, I was in Norway, and there was a protest organized at the gate of a big Norwegian weapon company. They don't send weapons to Israel because Norway has in its laws that they cannot send it to conflict areas or something like that. But they have a daughter company in the United States. The daughter company is owned 100% by the Norwegian company that is like half owned by the Norwegian government. They send the weapon there, package it there, add something, assemble the missile and send it to Israel. So Norway is the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the leading donor country to the Palestinian Authority, and have all these beautiful, nice peace initiatives, but they sell in millions weapon to Israel. And there is a horrific picture. You see a Palestinian woman maybe in Shajaiya, in one of the neighborhoods in Gaza after the bombardments in the summer of 2014, holding a missile that didn't explode, like something that was still intact, and you can see the name of the Norwegian company, and she's holding it like that. And so what we did is we tried to block the entrance of the factory. They prepared lots of stuff. It was like dolls that looked like children after bombardment and stuff, and we put it on the surface in the entrance, and the workers and the managers of the company had to tiptoe between the pieces of children to enter their job, and it's just a little drop in the sea, but it's a direction that I think we should go to. So when we finally find the specific weapon company in Canada, or the company that is connected to the occupied territories or something like that, you should block their gate. You should do something creative that will make it go all over in the news, because you have the support of many people here, and the support of Palestinian community here, and the support of Jewish progressive organizations. I think that's where we should go.
The Canadian pension plan, our Canada pension plan, it's invested in Israeli military.
Here you go.
Well, it's Canadian military selling to Israel, working with Israel in the Canada
But
budget.
a work group should sit here or somewhere in the area, bring together all these little things, and then decide of one campaign to go. It will be effective if you choose a direction, choose one company, one factory, and go on that, for a certain amount of time, and concentrate on one thing and then move to the other thing. I think that's the way to go. Maybe we'll let someone that do not agree with me to ask questions, if there is someone here. Okay, I just really want you to talk, so if this is the opportunity.
Let's say, for some odd reason, Israel will stop ceasefire. Do you think the Palestinians will stop fire?
Yeah, I think that when you say stop the violence, it's not just ceasefire. Violence is direct violence, which is shooting or hitting or, choking. This is direct violence. But violence is also structural violence. When I am super rich and you're super poor, or I took your home and you live outside, this is also violence. Violence is also cultural violence, where all the street names are after Israeli general, and the same street was previously something else, and you erase culture, erase whole identity of people. This violence has to stop, and yes, I think that when this violence will stop, with something like truth and reconciliation committees and different initiatives, then we can start to talk about the end of violence, but it will have to be all the violence.
I'm asking a question. Is it possible that all Israel is ignorant?
No, I think that Israel, like other places, most of the people, want to live peacefully with their families and make living and raise babies and have fun in the sea. At the same time, the way the media, the mainstream media work today, it keeps people in a very high level of ignorance about the reality around them. Not just about like Israelis and the occupation. It's us here about where this shirt was made and how many kids suffered for making this shirt not so expensive. It's this ignorance exists everywhere. So it exists also big time in Israel.
Here in Canada too.
But not all the Israelis. At exactly now when we sit here, a young girl in the age of 12 somewhere in Israel is reading in the internet something about horrible things that happen in Israel and somewhere else, and educating herself. And I believe that there is hope that people will know more and more, but the majority is ignorant.
Is it possible for you to speak in Israel as well? Or are you?
That's a good question. It was much easier, and since I chose the path of supporting the boycott, it's much, much harder. Because it's a game breaker, you know. They can't accept you anymore just as a, you know, naive peace guy. You are actually calling for something that can change the power balance. Thank you very much.